Hey everybody, welcome to the Dungeoncast. I'm Will.
I'm Brian.
This is a podcast where we talk about everything Dungeons and Dragons, from odorous oozes to traveling treants. And today, we're talking about ogres, and we're talking about trolls. The Dungeoncast. Hey Brian.
I see what you did there.
Oh yeah.
Good choice.
Thank you. So today we are talking about ogres and trolls, and I know there's a lot more exotic stuff that I really want to get to. I'm sure our listeners really want to get to. But I got to thinking, it's been a long time. We've been doing the show for a while.
And there's stuff we haven't talked about it. Yeah, because we took it for granted that everybody knows. Everybody knows that.
Yeah,
but we want to catalog everything.
Indeed.
I do.
So ogres and trolls are important in D&D. They're a pretty prolific monster. Pretty much everyone at least is semi-aware of what they are.
Yeah, and they're like the building blocks of evil fantasy creatures.
Very much so. So I want to talk about them. So now we're talking about them.
So they're evil, right? Generally?
Yes, generally speaking, both monstrosities are quite evil. And the reason we are putting both of them in one episode is because their lore isn't quite as extensive as some of the other things we're going to talk about. So rather than have like two 15-minute podcasts, let's just have one half-hour podcast.
Well, yeah.
But also...
I hope we hit that time.
Yeah, me too. But also, they're very similar in a lot of ways. They're both giant kin, for one.
Right, okay.
Which we'll get into. They fulfill a very similar combat and roleplay niche in the game. So like they're both to a certain extent really great like low level boss monsters.
Yeah.
Or at the higher levels, they're both pretty solid, powerful mob creatures.
Yes.
And they both are a good way to introduce new players to like the concept of a large, powerful solo creature.
Yeah.
That you guys got to outthink. And because they're both kind of on the dumber side of things, like they're just like more like a force of nature. It's like this big brute. What do you do?
Yeah, the CR. What's the CR? Like 3 or 4 on them?
I think for the ogre, the CR might be 2, which I know seems a little low, but at low levels that's pretty high.
Yeah.
And there are options for ogres in some of the other books that aren't the monster manual.
Yeah, basically it's like your first bulky thing you'll probably fight in a regular standard campaign. Like it's got a big chunk of HP, it's got a decent AC, like probably under 15, right?
Yeah, I think it's like 14 or something like that. I don't know. I'd have to look at the stats. I think trolls are higher CR. I think they're 5.
Okay.
Either
I know
way,
they can swing on you.
Yeah, either way, like trolls are definitely tougher than ogres, but the same.
Yeah, I kind of want to ask, how separate are we going to keep this episode? Like, should we identify the main differences between ogres and trolls at the beginning, or do you just want to kind of explain them both? And
I'm going to probably explain them both separately, but if you have a question, just ask me.
Okay, cool. So let's get into ogres then.
Let's start with ogres. So ogres, for those who don't know, are gigantic humanoids with like really muscular bodies. Sometimes they'll have like a real big pot belly, but generally speaking, they're all muscle.
Robust creatures.
Giant, 9 to 10 feet tall. They weigh anywhere from 600 to 1,000 pounds. They're usually depicted as fairly hairless or without, with very little hair.
Yeah, don't they have like really smooth, like kind of like...
Yeah, like a brownish, tannish, or even grayish skin. Yeah. They got like a piggish face.
That's how I kind of picture, not the piggish face, but the skin. That's how I kind of picture orcs too.
Yeah, very similar. They're not related, but there are some similarities between ogres and orcs, and they can interbreed, as we talked about in the orcs episode.
Yes.
But yeah, piggish face. They have small pointed ears and very large, sharp, prominent teeth.
Yeah, like walrus tusks almost, right? Or like elephant tusks.
Yeah, I would say so.
Maybe not so long.
Very similar to orcs. They have a very similar kind of tooth structure.
Is it that thing where they can't like close their mouth without their teeth like hanging over their lips?
I mean, you can depict them like that. Like it varies. That's the thing. All these monsters, it varies it from setting to setting and whatnot. They're based off of ancient fairy tales about big hairy monsters that eat children. Which, I mean, there's a lot of similarities, but it's kind of its own thing now.
I mean, like your infant babies are at risk in 5e.
Very much so. In Lord of the Rings, there are beings called trolls, and they are much more like to D&D ogres and D&D trolls. I don't know if you remember the scene in Fellowship of the Ring where they've got a cave troll.
Oh, yeah.
And then this big monstrous ogre, basically, it was an ogre, comes bursting through. So Yeah, I would say that ogres in D&D are also based off trolls from Lord of the Rings.
So
but trolls in D&D are not based off trolls from Lord of the Rings.
So between that, it's interchangeable. But
kind of
in 5e, we need like defined roles for names for each creature.
Yeah, for some reason, I grew up thinking that in Tolkien's work, the word troll and the word ogre were interchangeable.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
The same way that goblin and orc were.
Right.
But
okay.
I was doing my reading on Tolkien trolls, and I couldn't find anywhere where it said that. I was like, man, I don't know why I thought that. I just did. Maybe I'm wrong. I don't know. But moving on. So ogres in D&D are noted to be incredibly stupid. Cool. They have an average intelligence of about 5. Most cannot count past the number 10, and most only know a smattering of words in either giant or common. Just kind of depends on where they exist.
Just enough to like ask where the bathroom is.
I guess so, yeah. They're easily fooled. They're very gullible, but despite that, they're not easy to manipulate because of their knack of smashing anything that they don't understand.
Okay.
Easily angered, easily irritated, easily turned to smashing.
So they're not smashing like trees or rocks.
They'll smash anything. They don't care.
Well, I'm pretty sure, like, what's the scope of understanding is what I'm trying to get at here.
Oh, I mean, yeah, they're not going to smash a tree
10,
to smash
so if they see the number 11, they're just going to fuck it up.
My point here is if a charismatic rogue is trying to
entice it to be friends,
entice it to get out of a situation, that rogue needs to be careful not to use words too big or concepts too complicated or anything like that, because that will initially set off the ogre.
Be like just basic friendship. Make friends.
Right, exactly.
You be my friend.
Nice guy.
My name Tom.
Indeed. So ogres, they are giantkin. I think they are the result of Anam's wife being promiscuous again and cheating on Anam.
Oh.
Yeah. I think in the Giants episode, I called Anam's wife Hiatia. That was wrong. Hiatia is actually one of Anam's daughters, and she is the mother of Firbolg, but that's a different episode. His wife's name is actually Athea. Just want to get that straight. Sometimes I say things that are wrong, guys, and I see the corrections, and then I make note of them, and I try and correct them later. So anyways.
I mean, I'm still confused.
Yeah,
so
right. Well,
Athea, I don't blame you.
Athea cheated on Anam and ogres.
How Greek.
How very Greek of them. Yes, very much so. So being giantkin, they are technically part of the ordning. And ogres are at
the ordning.
The ordning, yeah. The ogres are at the very, very, very bottom of the ordning. You know, we talk about all the different types of giants. And
that's the worst place to be, right, is at the bottom of the ordning.
Indeed. And then after giants is beings called ettins, which we'll talk about another day. They're like they're kind of like hill giants, but they have 2 heads, and they're a little bit smaller, but they're bigger than all the other giantkin. That's really what it comes down to. They're just bigger than all the other giantkin, so they're technically a little higher in the ordning.
Okay.
Then it's the blanket term of giantkin, with the exception of ogres, because after the blanket term of giantkin, at the very bottom, ogres.
Okay.
And it really comes down to they're the smallest and the stupidest. And there was some.
What is it, Mog? Is Mog bad? Or is Mod bad? Mod is good. Right?
Mod is good. Mog is bad.
Most Mog.
I think so. Yeah. Gosh, I don't even.
It's been a while since that episode.
Well, anyways, I was reading some lore where sometimes ogres are aware of the ordning and they kind of worship giants as gods. I've read other lore where it's like they're so stupid they don't even like they are not likely to know what the ordning is or what it means, and if they did, they're very unlikely to even acknowledge it because they're so dumb and angry and they don't care.
Yeah, okay.
You know, if a giant shows up, they'll obey the giant because it's bigger, but they don't.
Damn, why even like list them on the ordning?
It's because like whether they
like
know
an
it or
ownership
not, on
thing?
the cosmic level, like this, remember that the ordning thing is decreed by the gods of giants. It's a divine thing. It's
like fuck. They got our genes. We have to kind of like write them on there as a footnote.
Just scribble them in at the bottom.
Yeah.
So yeah. So ogres are usually solitary creatures. Again, they're really dumb, so they're like at most dressed in like a loincloth.
Yeah, okay. That's like
oftentimes the way they're nude. They tend to dwell in mountainous or foresty areas, near the outskirts of humanoid society. Kind of like hags, where hags live in the boonies, but still within a couple days travel of society, so that
people
they can
get
prey
there.
on society.
Right.
It's kind of the same way with ogres. It's like far enough away from society to not be hunted, but close enough to raid farms and such as it wishes. You know,
cool.
Gotta eat them sheep.
Eat them sheep.
So more notable than their stupidity is their short tempers and their gluttonous natures. Pretty much any slight towards them, any insult, any minor discomfort will send them into a violent fit of fury.
Nice.
They'll just fly off the handle.
So really cool to put just like an ogre sitting in the middle of the road, and like if you have any volatility within your players, they're going to set off this. It's essentially a trap.
It's essentially a trap, yeah. Much like hill giants, ogres will eat almost anything, although they do have particular taste for the flesh of dwarves, halflings, and elves.
Oh, wow.
But the combination of this, like,
can't relate,
fury and their taste for pretty much anything basically makes them into enormous rage monsters that will kill and devour pretty much anything they come across.
Okay.
So they're not really people, according to this lore. They're just monstrous rage glutton facility monsters.
I wonder where the community of D&D draws the line at like what they want as a creature and a monster.
Well, I think with ogres it just comes down to like an intelligence thing. They're more like an animal,
right? Because with orcs, people are like, nah, this is a people.
Well, yeah, because they're smarter. Like they're more sentient, if you will. So while ogres are like, they're barely above the intelligence of a wolf. Barely.
Is it an intelligence-based thing that makes people want to say that, or is it like a social structure that makes people want to say that?
I mean, a little bit of both.
Like bullywugs, they're not like the smartest.
Yeah, but still, they have like an 8 or a 9 on the intelligence.
That's true.
Level.
They can speak.
Like, but when you have a 5, like you don't have a culture, you don't have a language, you can barely speak anything.
You keep trying to eat rocks. It's not good.
Yeah, exactly.
It's not nutritious. So, nope.
Anyways, where was I? So yeah, they'll eat anything, and like I would rate them as not really a people.
Okay. I mean, they don't sound like a people to me either. I just kind of wanted to bring that up.
So I said that they tend to be solitary creatures.
Right.
This is generally true, but there are exceptions. An ogre can be coaxed into working with orcs or goblinoids or even trolls if they're beaten into submission or bribed. They could be bribed with like food and stuff. Like
nice.
They're smart enough to be like, oh, okay, you give me deer carcass every day, I'll hang out and smash with you.
Yeah, so, sweet. I'll stand at the front of this cave, whatever.
Bigger beings obviously have better luck with this. You know, dragons and giants are the ones most notable of using ogres. Also hags. Hags will use ogres as well.
Oh, that's cool.
Specifically, I believe the Anis hag is really noted to kind of keep trolls and ogres as pets.
Well, you can like charm a hag could like charm an ogre.
Yeah,
like,
easily,
do its bidding.
easily. But also just like overpower the ogre. You're mine.
Yeah, okay.
I feed you. You do what I say.
Like
we're done.
fear my giant goat that I ride into battle.
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. Ogres can form small bands or gangs with other ogres, and an ogre squad running through the mountains. That's scary to me. Like,
ogre
holy
squad.
Shit. But still, like, generally very solitary monsters. Sometimes they'll be the ones bullying the orcs into doing stuff for them. Yeah, so sometimes there'll be like a bunch of orcs with an ogre in charge.
Okay,
it could happen. So yeah, any questions so far about ogres?
Anything could happen. No, not really. I'm more interested. I'm way more interested in the troll. I'm going to be honest. All my questions are troll related.
We'll get to trolls. We'll get to trolls. So okay, there is a creature very, very distantly related to ogres. So much so that they used to just be called ogre mages. But now they have their own name. They're called Onis, which is is a Japanese word for demon. I'm not sure about that.
Or like vampire or something like that. Like an Oni was like a incubus or something like that.
Something. I don't really know. But they're distantly related to trolls. They look, or not trolls, distantly related to ogres. They look kind of like big blue ogres.
Yeah, the Oni is blue.
Yeah, and they're large and magical, and they are far more intelligent than ogres. And due to their casting abilities, they are known as ogre mages, like I said before.
Cool.
So their MO is abducting people and eating them.
That's good.
Yeah, they can actually shapeshift into humanoids, and they'll infiltrate settlements.
Nice.
They'll gain the trust of people, and then slowly select their morsels of choice.
Nice. So they're not as stupid, like nearly as stupid.
They're not stupid at all. They're highly intelligent, very distantly related. They're not going to get their own episodes, so I figured they're going to
mention them here. Yeah, okay.
Here. Also, I believe they have like the power to enter people's dreams and fuck with them there.
Whoa.
They're like nightmare monsters.
Some Freddy Krueger shit.
So yeah, that's Onis. I don't know if you have any questions about Onis.
I mean,
they operate solitarily. They don't really associate themselves with their cousins.
Like when you say that, like, do I have any questions? I feel like it's not worth asking. It's more worth just like, I'm going to look at them on Wikipedia later.
Okay, sure. Yeah, they're cool. They're cool. They're scary.
I remember there was a Yu-Gi-Oh card called Blue Blooded Oni, and it was like $15 at one point. But
for sure.
Yeah, that's all I got. It was a zombie. It was like a vampire.
So I want to take this moment to, before we move on to Trolls, well, before that, we're going to take a short rest, but before we move on to Trolls, I want to take a minute to talk about Dragonlance Ogres.
Okay.
Because they are drastically different.
Okay. So we're talking about, I guess technically we're talking about Classic or Forgotten Realms Ogres?
No. This isn't Classic. This is very specifically Dragonlance.
No, yeah,
Ogres.
I mean before this conversation.
Yeah, this is just Ogres in general. This depiction of Ogres does not really change from setting to setting or edition to edition.
Unless it's Dragonlance. Let's talk about it.
So, in the world of Dragonlance, there are a bunch of deities, but there are like three major deities. The deity of good, Paladine, of neutrality, Galeen, and of evil, Takesis.
That's cool. That's a good set. We've talked about Takesis before.
Yeah, we will do a Dragonlance episode, and yes, we have talked about Takesis in the Tiamat episode. Maybe she'll get her own episode. I don't know. We'll do a Dragonlance episode one of these days.
We're going to look at it.
Because I heard through the grapevine that they may be working on a Dragonlance movie.
Ooh.
And so I think, so Wizards just announced that they're going to be getting into other settings very soon.
Nice, okay.
And a lot of people are saying, well, it's probably going to be Eberron and Darkstone. Those are like the two most popular. And I completely agree. And they're awesome. I really look forward to that. But I was going through the forums and some people were bringing up, don't be surprised if Dragonlance gets a really prominent push, because word through the grapevine is they're making a movie for the book Dragons of Bottom Twilight, which is kind of like, if you're going to get into Dragonlance, that's kind of where you should start.
Okay.
Good book. I'm really excited. I hope it's good. Anyways, back to Ogres. So, the three gods. Each of these deities created a, kind of like their main race. Like, they each created a major race of the world of Krynn.
Okay.
Paladine created the elves, Galeen created the humans, and Takesis created beings called ogres.
Okay.
Now, these beings were basically like the perfect people in Takesis' eyes. They were incredibly beautiful, really tall. They looked like almost like blue elves, except for they were supposed to be even more supernaturally beautiful than elves.
Okay.
They were incredibly magically proficient. They were good at everything.
Sure.
And it's because that's the way she made them, because she made them after herself, if you will.
Nice.
Like the way she sees herself.
People in their own image.
And so they're mighty, hyper intelligent, hyper magical, hyper beautiful. And they basically created like an empire that dominated half the world. Ooh. And it got to the point where their superiority complex and their arrogance was so large that they consider themselves higher than even the gods. It angered Takesis so much, she curses them and turns them into giant monstrosities. Now, it was really hard for me to look up because, like, in all my reading of Dragonlance, like, there was plenty of ogre lore, but I never actually saw a freaking ogre or read a ogre actually doing something on the screen, if you will,
right,
of the book I'm reading.
Okay.
Because they just never came up. They never seemed to be that prominent. They're kind of like tucked away in their corner of the world. So I don't actually know what they're supposed to look like. And I couldn't find any proper description. So I'm imagining that they look like regular D&D ogres now.
Oh, okay.
I just know that they got turned ugly and not less dumb, or not dumber though, because they're still cunning as shit. And they actually rule the Minotaurs in Krynn, which that's a whole other discussion.
Okay.
But yeah, they're just drastically different. I thought it was an interesting take. I thought we should talk about it.
Maybe now they're just like shy because they're not good looking anymore.
I mean, they still dominate. Like, they still have a nation.
Sure.
I've just never read any books that go into the nation, so I actually don't know that much about ogres in Dragonlance.
Okay.
But I thought that bit of lore was pretty interesting. There was a small clan of ogres that were protected from Takesis' curse by Paladine, because basically, like, they rejected Takesis, they kind of turned to good, they begged Paladine for protection, he gave it to them, but they're exiled to an island, and there are people called the Urda, but again, another episode, another
way
day.
Different. Yeah,
way,
right.
way different.
It's a completely different thing. It's like almost just like something else just called ogres.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Very much so. But I thought it was interesting and people should know about it. So
Okay.
With that, let's take a short rest.
Let's do it. Hey everybody, welcome to the part of the episode where we're not talking about those last two things. The one thing, that the last content, we're not talking about that. We're talking about you guys and how much we love you. Mm-hmm. Listeners. Thanks for being here. No, really though. Really, thank you.
Thank you guys.
Let's talk about some people from Patreon that came on board. We have some shout outs to do.
We do.
Our recording schedule got a little muddled up, just a little bit, so it kind of pushed things out. So we had a lot of people. Thank you guys. Joey Castaldo, thank you.
Thank you, Joey.
Chris Navarro, thank you.
Thank you, Chris.
Nick Pless, thank you.
Thank you, Nick.
Quinn Sullivan, thank you.
Thank you, Quinn.
Samuel Gomez,
thank you, Samuel.
And Chemicult.
Thank you, Chemical.
Thank you.
Also, I believe we mispronounced someone's name on probably our previous shout out, which was probably a few episodes ago. We announced them as Stephanie Deemer.
Oh,
I'm pretty sure their name is Steven Deemer. So shout out to Steven Deemer. Sorry we got your name wrong the first time.
Probably my bad.
It's
sorry, bud. Okay. And then our contest ended
a while ago.
Yeah, a while ago at this point.
Well, we know the winners now.
Yeah, and we knew the winners
for a little bit.
Just not like we recorded ahead of time. Yeah. So we want to thank you guys so much for everybody who participated in the contest. The goal was to get the word out about the show, and we definitely saw that reflected in the growth of the show.
You guys did that, and we super appreciate it.
Thank you so much. It really helps when you guys talk about the show to your friends or whoever and tell them that it exists, and hopefully they listen and like it.
Yeah. And congratulations to our winners who are
Dumpstat Int
on YouTube.
Which is a very, very clever name. I like it.
Yeah, I like it a lot.
And also the winner from Twitter was Lady Soraya 28 is the handle.
Congrats to you too.
Yeah. Go find those people and give them some love. Maybe if you're into that. Mm-hmm. If they're into that. Maybe. I don't know.
Okay. All right. Thank you guys so much.
Yeah. I know you guys have found us, but if you want to find us in other places, we're on soundcloud.com/thedungeoncast. You can find us on YouTube. Search the Dungeoncast there. Thanks, Josh Freeland. Miss you, bud. And you can find us on Twitter @thedungeoncast. You can email us at thedungeoncast@gmail.com. You can find us at patreon.com/thedungeoncast. Go check out some sweet bonus content there. Mm-hmm. And content.
Back to the show.
Hey everybody, welcome to the back half of the Dungeoncast. I'm Brian, that's Will, and today we're talking about Ogres, Oozes, and something it's Trolls time. It's Trolls time.
Uh-huh.
Today we're talking about Trolls.
We are. We're trying to.
Will, tell me about Trolls, Will.
All right. So I like Trolls a lot. Great intro, Brian. I like Trolls a lot.
We did the intro. That was something else.
The mid-tro?
The mid. Yes.
Okay. All right.
But thank you.
So Trolls are, in my opinion, a lot fucking scarier than Ogres. Number one, their CR is a lot higher, but there's a lot of things about them that are just, if I had to deal with one in real life circumstances, I'd rather deal with an Ogre because I might 1% chance of getting out of that alive.
That's what my great granddaddy always said is trolls are troublesome.
It's very true.
Tricky trolls.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Very much so. Yep. So trolls they're also giant humanoids. They stand about 9 feet tall.
That's really big.
They tend to have mossy green kind of skin color and are covered in various warts and moles, kind of like a hag. Though they are strong and muscular like an ogre, they tend to be a lot leaner and a lot lankier than ogres.
Right.
While ogres are about 600 to 1,000 pounds, trolls usually average about 500 pounds.
Yeah, they got long, greasy hair and thick, nasty fingernail claws.
They have very long limbs, and their arms are ended with monstrous needle-like claws. Made for stabbing and for tearing.
Made for stabbing.
Yeah, they also
some of my favorite things are made for stabbing.
Indeed, they also walk with fairly pronounced hunched. Then you'll often see them like dragging their hands on the ground as they're walking around.
Keeps them sharp.
Yeah, I would say so. I couldn't really find an origin for trolls other than they're giantkin.
They're okay. So what always comes to mind is like the bridge troll that, it pops out from under the bridge and asks you riddles. And so if you solve the riddle, it lets you pass. Yeah. But this thing's just going to stab you.
This thing's going to fucking eat you. And we're going to get into the hows and whys. But before we do that, they can be found pretty much anywhere because they can sustain almost any environment and eke out in existence as lone hunters. And they do tend to be very solitary like ogres, although they can form clans with a matriarch. The matriarch is called a trollop. Oh. And yeah, that's even fucking scarier.
So the hows and whys of eating.
Hows and whys of eating. Okay, so hold on. Before that, they're kind of dumb too, kind of like ogres, but they're notably more intelligent and cunning. Their intelligence is about a 7. And their behavior, as we were just saying, is usually dictated by one thing: hunger. They're, I wouldn't say cursed, but they're all afflicted with this horrifically voracious appetite.
Ooh.
And they will eat anything that they can catch.
Nice.
They'll even eat other trolls, which we'll kind of get into at the end of the episode. Besides their horrific hunger, their most notable and infamous trait is their extremely potent regenerative abilities.
Yes, that's really cool. Because I'm a little more knowledgeable on the troll topic because I ran a troll in one of our games. It was fun.
Yeah, it was fun. Their hides are like this odd rubbery kind of texture, and any wounds inflicted upon them are regenerated pretty quickly. I think in mechanics terms, like every round they're regenerating X amount of HP.
Right.
This regenerative thing even extends to severed limbs and severed heads. If you don't kill this thing, even if you cut off its head, that's not going to kill it. That head will grow back.
Removing the head or destroying the brain.
Sorry, will not kill it.
That's not enough.
That's not good advice. Don't say that.
That's how you kill zombies.
That's how you kill zombies. This regenerative ability is so notable that troll blood is often really sought after and for its magical properties.
Nice.
Now,
just drink a little straight up. Yeah, see what happens.
The offset,
it's on a wild ride.
Right. The offset of this superpower, if you will, is their susceptibility to fire and acid.
Yes.
So this is actually the only way to kill a troll is when they're hit by either fire or acid, it stalls out their regenerative abilities.
That turn that they got hit by it.
So generally speaking, to kill a troll, you have to kill them with either fire or acid, and then they won't regenerate, and then they'll die.
Right.
So if they're like below HP and they can't regenerate, they die.
Don't they have to like pass a save to do the regen?
Nope.
I remember some role being involved.
There should not be. I think I looked at the stat, and even if that is a thing, that shouldn't be in my experience with trolls in actual D&D fiction and like Dragonlance books and Forgotten Realms books. No, that shit is it's like Wolverine.
They just have healing factor.
Yeah, Wolverine doesn't roll to heal; he just heals. So it's the same. As a matter of fact, it's so beyond their control. It's actually a huge factor into some other things that happens with them.
Probably why they need to eat so much.
Yeah. So the regenerative power, like I said, is super not under their control and can oftentimes backfire or lead to what is called a troll freak, where their regenerative genetics freaks out, and if enough damage is done to them, it could like put their regeneration in overdrive, and suddenly they'll have like extra limbs or heads growing from weird areas. Yeah.
Or just like the arm you chopped off becomes like an extra troll, and the arm becomes a leg instead of an arm. That'd be weird.
Yeah, it could be stuff like that. Sure. That's pretty extreme, but yeah, that could super totally happen. So another thing with this regenerative property is what's called dire troll transformation.
Okay.
So remember I told you trolls will eat fucking anything, including other trolls. So if a troll in its ravenous hunger eats another troll, it will probably cause it to grow to an unusually large size. It's like you ate something else with the regenerative property, and now you go into overdrive and you get bigger and meaner.
They drink some blood straight up, unfiltered.
Right.
It just like mess with them.
It will also cause them to get a taste for troll flesh, and they'll continue to seek out other trolls and grow bigger. And just get huger.
We should have talked about this in our Making of Villains episode. I just had this idea right now. It's called the Troll Train, and a troll eats a troll, and then a troll eats that troll, and then a troll eats that troll, and now you have a super villain,
super mega giant troll,
super troll. Mega ultra. I saw a trailer for the Megalodon movie with Jason Statham.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, I haven't seen it.
It's basically the Megalodon, but it's a troll.
Okay,
cool. And now Jason Statham has to kill it.
Awesome.
With fire and acid.
Sounds fun.
Oh yeah.
So
you're welcome, new D&D campaign that just started with that idea.
With this new taste for not only the troll flesh but for the power boost, it gets to the point where these dire trolls will literally start like taking limbs and heads of trolls that they don't finish eating and fusing it to their body.
Oh god.
And they just become these giant monstrosities.
They just like open a wound on their like front part of their shoulder and like
splicing other troll parts to them.
Like hold it there until it starts to.
There we go. Yeah, so that's a thing that can happen.
I punch more.
Yeah. So even more.
That's gross.
Yeah, it is gross. Even more on this. So trolls kind of have like this unstable biology is really what this all comes down to. And because of this unstable biology, other things can mutate and transform them. So if a troll is exposed to high levels of elemental magic,
God, I thought you were going to say gamma rays.
No. If they're exposed to high levels of elemental magic that they then regenerate back from and survive, it can transform them into like variant versions of themselves. And you can find most of these. It was either in Volo's Guide or it was in Tome of Foes. I think it was Tome of Foes. And There's a few examples. So, for instance, if a troll gets in a fight with a necromancer and a lot of necrotic damage is done to it, and it flees or gets away but manages to regenerate itself, it can become what's called a rot troll. And it'll give off like a necrotic aura, and it'll be just covered in like pustules and disease and whatnot.
Oh, good.
And it'll have like different disease powers. And
oh, that's great.
There's a spirit troll. If it's subjected to enough psychic like damage and psychic like environments or whatever, it can turn into like this incorporeal phantom troll monster.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then there's the venom troll, which is like this disgusting looking pustule monster, like can spew poison and shit. And
it got taken over by the symbiote.
Sure. And those are the only 3 examples that were given, but you can extend this to pretty much any element, like an ice troll, a fire troll. I don't know.
I think I just make more superhero references in this scenario because it's like my job.
Right. I think so. That is your job. My job is to ignore them and then just keep telling the viewers what they want to know.
But for the record, Will knows way more superhero stuff than I do.
I'm much, much more versed in both DC and Marvel comics than you are. So that's all I got on trolls. I don't know if you got any questions.
Oh man. Like, so if I guess my question is, if you wanted to do the classic bridge troll thing and like have a player solve a riddle to defeat the monster, or, you know, obviously you can fight everything, but what monster are you going to use? Because it doesn't sound like you're going to use a troll. Unless you use the troll.
I mean, you could just use the troll, sure.
The troll at the top of the troll train.
Sure, absolutely. You could do that.
Yeah.
I wouldn't, probably, just because, I don't know, they're so different to me. So,
Yeah, that's what when I used it, I was like, this isn't like...
It's not the same thing.
Yeah, I flavored my troll like a lot, but essentially it was just, you know, the stat block running around and doing the damage and etc. But
I don't know, maybe a furbolg.
Oh, for what? Maybe
a furbolg. I don't know.
That's interesting. I like that.
Yeah, but all in all,
like smart enough for that.
Or I mean, just take an ogre stat block, slap a new name on it, and make it more intelligent. Bam, you have your bridge troll.
Yeah, I guess you can have a troll and just like. Maybe the only thing it's good at is riddles in the thinking realm.
Yeah.
Yeah, because like
it's just not the same creature.
It's such a classic.
But like it's your world, so you could just change trolls. These trolls don't exist. It's only riddle trolls exist, and they live under bridges.
Only some dumbass bridge trolls. Like there's one of every color. What I'm getting at is like it's such a fantasy trope to have the bridge troll that asks you the riddle.
It's like very fairy tale.
Yeah, the very classic fantasy story. Why did D&D decide to like strip that all away and do something kind of... I've seen this scenario happen a few times where they take something and just strip it and call it troll or what have you.
Okay, so I agree with what you're saying. I think in this case, this is what I think they tend to do. They come up with a cool concept, and then rather than call it something obscure, they just take some name from
like something familiar.
Because like gnolls, like the word gnoll, I think it was supposed to be a combination of the word gnome and the word troll, and gnolls have nothing to do with either
neither of those things.
Yeah, with either fantasy trolls or D&D trolls or fantasy gnomes or D&D gnomes. Like just completely, they're hyena men. Like they just do that because the name is familiar to people, so they'll remember it. But they don't necessarily want the fairy tale monster. They want the thing that they made up. So, I mean, that's fair to a certain degree.
I mean, yeah, they're trying to create like a unique game. So
yeah, but yeah, it's the bridge troll and D&D trolls. Nothing to do with each other.
You did fine, Wizards. I'm just wondering.
Yeah, no. I think that the D&D troll is a really fucking cool monster idea.
I love it.
It's legit awesome.
I just kind of like... I think I'm just brainwashed from my childhood of being like, yeah, bridge troll.
Yeah. It's just what you're used
to. I can't even unattach the word bridge from it. I'm just like, yeah, bridge troll. But I had to like
I mean, honestly, some of the trolls in Tolkien's work are more like bridge trolls, like the stone trolls that Bilbo runs into in The Hobbit. You know, they're obviously not riddle like asking trolls, but they talk and they're intelligent. Like they obviously have a culture in the book, and they're kind of funny, and like their names are like Bill and there's one named Bill. The other two have normal names as well, like real English names.
Oh, okay.
Like they are blatantly like a transformation and take of like the fairy tale bridge troll.
Okay, cool.
But like also there's other trolls in Tolkien's work that aren't like that. They're like big dumb ogres. So it's all fluid.
Maybe it's like that telephone effect where it's like, oh, like if I keep telling people about troll, if I tell somebody about a troll and they tell somebody else about a troll, eventually it becomes something completely different from what I said.
Right, exactly.
What's the name? I'm gonna look that up. What the name of that shit is? It's called telephone game. Like when you play with kids.
Yeah, I understand what you're referring to. But with that being said, I think we're done.
Let's call it a game.
I think we've now talked about Ogres and Trolls, and we don't need to talk about it again on the show. And now we can get on to the more juicy, crazy stuff.
Get ready for the next like 2 months, guys, because it's gonna be wild up in here.
For a wild summer.
We've been waiting to do some of our heavier topics because we were waiting for Mordenkainen to drop.
Exactly.
And now it has.
It did drop.
So guess what?
We're getting into it.
Asmodeus.
Okay,
let's call it a game.
All right, bye. The Dungeoncast. We're good. I hit record. I'm stretching. We're gonna do this show, man. It's gonna be a good one.
Oh yeah.
I feel it in my bones. Or so I tell myself. Are we ready?
Yes.